Can you hear me? Oh, good. Oh,
Yep. I was gonna say I can just like you're kind of at a funny angle, but we can hear you.
I need to set this computer on a kitchen bowl with fruit in it. Okay,
But mine's always rests on the Kleenex box.
there we go. It's on the bananas. That's better. But plus I'm using the camera for my, anyways, it is today.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you could talk into this camera.
Oh, and it should be this. Can you hear me now better?
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely better. Definitely better.
Let's see. I haven't talked to Big Chamber this morning. She was going to let me know if it will be her or Tara getting on, but
It'll be Jen.
oh, good.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Kent. Good morning.
Good morning.
Trisha, did you see that lineup that I texted earlier?
Oh,
with the order?
you texted it?
But I'll retext it right now.
Let me plug in my laptop too.
We might be a little light just because it's summertime, so we've got a couple more minutes to let people join, but I think we should probably just go ahead and get started. Right at the top of the hour.
Oh, whoops.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Cody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I got to meet. Oh, who did I meet the other day? Yeah.
Good morning, Reg. Thanks for being here. Got Casey jumping on and Melanie. So great to have everyone.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure some more people will join. Trisha Harris, I'm the Rural Utah Chamber Coalition Chair. I think I know most of you, but we're glad you're here this summer day. Some calendar items. Actually, the main thing we have coming up that we wanted to invite everybody to, would love to have you there. We're going to have some amazing speakers. We'll have Dax Jacobson, Mike Mowers. Anyways, we have a great lineup of speakers, but it is our Rural Utah Chamber Conference. It's July 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in Bear Lake, but we would love you to come. It's going to be a great combination of chambers, government liaisons, just a place where we can network and just learn how we can help each other out. So go to ruralutahcc.org to sign up. You can register online, and then there's a number in there that you'll have to call to get a room. There's some great places to stay up there, but it's easiest just to call them and they'll get you hooked up with the room. So welcome everybody, and we're just going to turn the time over to Colette.
We have a special update this morning from Reg Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us, Reg. We've got some really important public lands update information. Our public lands really fuel a lot of our economic development in rural Utah, everything from oil and gas, mining, ranching, grazing, to forestry and beyond. Tourism is really supported by our public lands as well. And as many of you know, it's been a fight for many years to keep our public lands open, and that fight continues. And because we have some timely information that is very pertinent to our rural areas, I've asked Reg Johnson with PLIPCO to come and give us an update this morning. So I'll turn the time over to you, Reg. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I'm going to attempt to share a screen, but we'll see how that goes. Looks like I'm
just
blocked.
Give me one second. I will give you the access here.
I know.
Here we go. Try now.
All right. You know what? I'm having some difficulty here.
I'm gonna say, is it something that you could maybe email to me and I could share for you?
Sorry, everybody. This is how these things go sometimes.
A Friday morning.
All right, Colette, I just sent that to you. Thanks for
Okay.
trying to get it
I'll
up on
pull
the
that up.
screen. Okay. So as she's pulling us up, I guess I'll give you a little bit of a update on kind of where we are with some of the public lands issues. So can you guys hear me okay? Okay. One of the big issues we have right now is with BLM's public lands rule, and it's a new rule that's rolling out that's going to affect all the BLM lands, but specifically those lands that don't have designations. Yeah, it's not quite up yet. So it's going to be really affect about half of those lands. And let's see if we get this up. But already half of the lands for BLM lands are restricted. They're restricted with national monuments, special recreation management areas, wilderness study areas, areas of critical environmental concern, natural areas, lands with wilderness characteristics, etc. So that is about 10.5 or 10.1 million acres of Utah. And that only leaves about 12 million acres of what we call multiple use and sustained yield lands. Those are the lands that we can do mining, grazing, all the multiple use that are supposed to be what BLM does. And the BLM public lands rule is going to significantly reduce the amount of activities that we can have on those lands, from recreation, the whole 9 yards. So what we're asking is everybody let your folks know that this rule is rolling out. We are litigating on this in the next couple of weeks, but we really need everybody to articulate to your folks that this could really impact local communities. So I'd like to just kind of open it up for question and answers if I could. So anybody have any questions for us?
Could I make a comment, Reg? This is HD from Congressman Curtis's office.
Yes, please.
I just want to let everyone know, along with that as well, that Congressman Curtis introduced a bill in the House that directly, essentially, it tells the BLM they have to withdraw that rule. It did pass the House. It does not look like it will pass the Senate, unfortunately, but he's continuing to work on it. So it did pass the House with bipartisan support. A lot of people realize that rule is not what it should be and that it should be withdrawn. It's just a matter of convincing the Senate that that's the case as well.
Great, thank you. So exactly why we need everybody to be aware of this, and hopefully, we get letters into congressional offices, not just ours, but if you know people in other states, it would be great if you could reach that out to them as well. So it looks like we got the map up. Thank you so much, Colette. As you can see, the purple on the map is the highly designated or what we call federal designation areas. And you can see the vast majority of BLM lands already have quote unquote conservation protections on them. When BLM rolled this out, their reasoning behind this was we need to balance conservation with multiple use. And as you can see from the map, it's already more than balanced. But I also want to point out that the yellow area is what's left open for multiple use and sustained yield. But even those areas are already protected for quote unquote conservation because they're protected with the National Environmental Policy Act, Federal Land Policy Management Act, the Mining Act, the Grazing Act, Endangered Species Act. I mean, I could go on and on with the acts that are already passed by Congress that provide conservation protections, even on those yellow areas. But when you get to the purple areas, those are lands that are extremely restricted. Motorized use is restricted. Oil and gas exploration is restricted. Doesn't mean it cannot occur, but just as an example, in the purple area, you're looking at maybe 10 to 20 years to get through a NEPA process to do any kind of a project in those areas. In the yellow areas, it's still going to take you, 6 months on a categorical exclusion to maybe 4 to 5 years for an EIS to do like critical minerals exploration in the yellow areas. So it's a little disingenuous that they're saying they're trying to balance conservation, because conservation is already occurring on all BLM lands, and it's definitely highly restricted in those purple areas that you see. Any other questions on the BLM public lands rule? Comments?
Reg, if you could tell us where we can make comments from a chamber perspective and as a local resident perspective, and also what type of content should be put forth in those letters of support for keeping the lands open. Do they want specific information? Like in my areas, we have both mining, grazing, and then also tourism activities. My area is heavy in tourism activities. And so what are the steps that we should take to have our local voices heard on this issue?
Thank you. The best thing that we can do right now is send letters to the governor and to our congressional representatives. So when they put this rule out, one of our arguments in the litigation is that they did not go through the NEPA process. So it's one reason why the general public doesn't know a lot about this rule, is there never was an open comment period for it. We were signed on as a cooperating agency, so we got to work with them a little bit, but about the only change that we got in there was when they first rolled the rule out, no state agencies or the state of Utah could hold what are called conservation leases, which are mostly restoration and mitigation leases. And we did get a change to that where Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, their conservation districts can now hold leases, and the Department of Wildlife Resources can hold leases. But other than that, it's mostly environmental groups that are allowed to hold these leases, and that's our big concern. Is even on that yellow part of the map, if some of the environmental groups get these leases, then they get to dictate what uses occur on those yellow parts of the map. So could be even more restrictive than what we're already seeing. So Colette, you kind of outlined what needs to be in your letters. How does your community rely on public lands, mostly BLM lands? Do you have mining in your area? Do you have tourism in your area? Outdoor recreation? Do your citizens use these areas for dispersed camping? Do you have families that have used these areas for generations for cultural or heritage traditional uses, things like that? Ranching obviously is a big one for most of your areas. So if you could get letters out to your congressmen, senators, and to the governor, or just CC all of them on your letters, that would be a huge amount of help. Even as we go into litigation, the more comments that we have outlining some of the impacts to our local communities, that's very helpful as we move forward in litigation. And litigation with the feds takes years to decades. So, but if you could do your letters in the next couple of weeks, that would be even better. It helps us to obtain standing in the litigation. So that would be extremely helpful.
And Reg, I just put in the chat an article that came out 2 days ago in the Deseret News about the Supreme Court ruling regarding Chevron and public lands. And it illustrates, just like you said, some of the battles that are happening at the, with courts, and it talks about the economic activities that happen on public lands. And if I could just ask our representatives, we've got Kyle and Casey and Joel, if you would do us a favor and drop in the chat ways to get a hold of our representatives, and I'll drop information in the chat on how to write the governor's office. And again, we can all have our voices heard, because I can't think of one issue that impacts rural Utah more than our public lands, as has been illustrated. So, and it looks like, Reg, we've got a question from Natalie from the Salt Lake Chamber.
Yes.
Thanks. I just had a quick question. Is that map publicly available somewhere, or is that something that can be distributed?
Yeah, Colette, you're welcome to share that with the group if you would.
I'll put that in the chat as well.
Thank
Great.
you.
So can I just go through two more things real quick? I know you said I had 5
Absolutely.
minutes, and I'm way past 5 minutes, but
For sure. And I know you need to get up to the Capitol. So yeah, no,
all right.
go right ahead.
Thanks. So a couple other things that are happening on public lands I'd like to give you an update on. There's a new initiative coming out of Forest Service and BLM called the Old Growth Forest Initiative. And the state of Utah supports old growth. That's great habitat for a lot of our wildlife species. But we're concerned with the way this is rolling out. What they're doing is they're mapping, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of acres and calling it old growth forest. And that's not the way to manage on our public lands, because especially something as dynamic as a forest, it's going to change over time. And what we're hoping is we can get them just to manage as old growth forest as a forest characteristic. If you're able to include that in your letter, another letter, I guess, on Old Growth Forest Initiative, that we would prefer Forest Service and BLM to manage old growth forest as a forest characteristic. As you saw on the map, what we have is on our landscape are a lot of mapped areas that have additional restrictions. And if we allow them to go forward with this mapping exercise that they're doing right now, it will just add to that purple area with more restricted areas. The reason this is so important is a lot of we have kind of a wildfire crisis right now from really high fuel loads. And if they go the mapping route, it's going to make it extremely difficult for us to get in there and do the right kind of fuels treatments, logging, mastication, prescribed fire, etc. So that the biggest concern there is that we end up with more of these land designations, and we're not just doing the right thing for forest health. I think we have some good support on this initiative, but it's something we could use more help with. The last one I wanted to talk to you about, and if you're in Southeast Utah, you've already probably heard a lot about this, but that is the travel management plans. You know, we have a lot of roads out on these public lands, and my office is in charge of trying to keep these routes open. These routes are everything from mountain bikers to OHV communities, grazing, mining. You know, they've been there for most of them have been there for 50 to 100 years. And what we're seeing is during the travel management plan that BLM's going through right now, they're starting to close a lot of those. So far, we've seen over 500 miles of these roads closed, and we're looking at another couple thousand to maybe up to 4,000 or 5,000 more miles of roads closed. Unfortunately, this isn't new. They've been closing roads out there since the mid-1980s. And if we continue to allow them to close roads, we're not going to have access to our public lands. So if you can get with your local communities, or especially your public lands users, recreationists, grazers, anybody that accesses public lands, we really need their input on these travel management plans. And one of the best ways to do that is you can go to our website. It's publiclands.utah.gov. And there's actually a comment generator on every one of the travel management plans. And you can pull up the map. It'll show you what roads are being closed. Your constituents can go and select those roads that they've been using for, generations probably. And then that will kind of step you through and help you generate a letter that you can then print out and send to the BLM. I do need to let you know that we don't send the letters to the BLM. So you have to print them out, or it will email you the letter, and then you need to send that in to the BLM. But what that does is it creates a very specific letter. If we just send form letters into BLM, they just count that as one letter. But if we send specific letters that, hey, I use this road, this is what I used it for, this is how long I've used it, then they have to address that in the environmental impact statement. So it's a lot more impactful if we can get those specific comments and comment letters. I think that was it.
I think that covers it. Thank you so much. We've included some information in the chat, but like I said, I'll follow up with a full email with all of this information, just because, again, it is so specific and so important for our rural communities, and really making sure that the voices are heard. I come from a community that had the forest industry shut down and uranium mining industry shut down, and it was absolutely devastating to our community on multiple levels, and lived through that. And so we want to make sure that we keep our industry strong in our rural areas that is dependent on public lands. So thank you so much for that very timely and important update, Reg. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I know this is the rural chamber, but I know a lot of our rural folks have moved to the urban areas. This is not just a rural issue. This is also an urban issue, right? A lot of people up here in Salt Lake that I'm good friends with, they use public lands, their families use public lands. So even if you have folks that have moved to the city like I have, because that's where my job took me, yeah, get them involved, please. So thanks again, Colette. Greatly appreciate it.
Hey, Reg.
Thanks, everybody.
Real quick, I just wanted to thank you for all the good work that you're doing. I have the opportunity to work with several of your employees throughout the state, and they're doing a tremendous job in fighting back with the federal regulations that are being placed upon us as well as the state. So we just really appreciate all the good work that you're doing throughout the state.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I've got a great team that I get to work with. But boy, have they given us a lot to work on the last couple of years. But we're doing everything we can to keep our public lands public.
Yeah, we sure appreciate that. Keep up the good fight, Reg.
Thank you. Much appreciated. You all have a great day. Thanks for letting me join you this morning.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And next we're supposed to have Jen Wakeland share about the big chamber. I'm not I don't see Jen on the call yet, so she might pop in a little bit later. So let's move along and turn the time over to Tim Cooley. I'm excited to introduce him to the group. He is a new employee at the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, and he is over entrepreneurship and innovation and over our Startup State program. So with that being said, I'll turn the time over to Tim.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. So, look, can I share my screen? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Cool. So yes, I just got hired this week, so super excited to be here. I want to give you guys a little bit of background on me and what we're up to, kind of from a high level point of view, and kind of where anybody wants to help immediately can. We got a lot of great ideas coming down the pipeline, and so just a little bit of background. I was in the Marine Corps before, but I started school in Arizona, up in Flagstaff, if you've ever been there. Amazing little place. And then I came up to Utah for a master's in sports medicine. That wasn't my career path. I didn't really care for it. And then a few years later, I went and got my MBA at the U, which started my path down really the entrepreneurship route. I started a company, like a health and wellness company, similar to Peloton many, many moons ago. I sold that company, and then I started a bunch of other companies since. And then from all that experience, I got the opportunity to run the Mill, which is a co-working space based out of Salt Lake Community College. Did that for a number of years. And during that, I also became the executive director for Park City Angels, so screening thousands of early stage companies, which ultimately led me to build a product called the Pitch Deck book, really taking my experiences I learned from screening those deals and said, hey, listen, y'all are just not communicating your business is good. Maybe I can help you. So I've been in this ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Utah for over 10 years now, and I absolutely adore it. And I love the people that I've met, which is why I really, really am excited about this position. And so if we look at the startup state initiative, and what my role are, we kind of have like these three pillars of area. So one thing that Brad Bonham has learned when he did like this tour of Utah was that founders don't know where to go to begin. And he thinks that one of the things that we can do is consolidate resources from a marketing perspective. Like, can we get people to know what exists and put all of that in one place? And I'll show you what we're doing there. The other one is to remove interference. We hear a lot of feedback that like, man, I want to get going, but I tried to go down this path and then I just got stuck. And so maybe we can help people get unstuck. And then finally, to really make sure that the resources, especially that the government is providing, are great. And so if they're missing something or if they need education, then maybe we can step in and help. And so those are the pillars that we're leaning into. And so I'm really focused right now on pillar this purple one, that's consolidate. And so if you've seen the billboards, or if you haven't, you'll see this billboard called Start Something Here. It's a huge initiative that we're trying to do is get people to just start something, right? We all know that the first or second, maybe third one you do doesn't always work, but we also know that you can learn throughout that process. And then eventually whatever you work on tends to work out pretty well. So we want to get people starting. And so that's really what the whole purpose of the website is, or this brand is to get people to start. And then we want to partner with people. We don't think that creating is the right way. We'd rather leverage what is y'all have spent years building what you've built. I'd rather partner with you, get the branding going on, give resources, and then say, can you help us build this brand while we help you build whatever it is that you're building? And so the first thing that we're doing is consolidating, like I said. So startuputah.gov. If you haven't been to the website, please check it out. We're always looking for feedback to make it better. But some of the content there is, we have 19 steps of a company. We're going to be building resources around, we're not building, we're going to leverage resources that already exist around each one of these steps with the intent if somebody gets stuck with their business, then maybe they'll find one of you all, or maybe even me, who knows, but they'll find the place to go to get themselves unstuck. We have a list of business resources that we're going to ever evolve. We hope to be the go-to place for events, all business-related events in the state of Utah. So that's a big challenge that we have and something that's super exciting. I'll talk a little bit more about pitch competitions, but it'll be listed here. We're working on a startup dashboard, which we'll talk about, and then a chatbot to, again, help people get unstuck. Okay, so this is really the initiatives that I'm putting together right now. The first one is a startup dashboard. We want people to get excited when they go to the website and show what's the activity of people starting businesses in each county in the state. It's a pretty big lift, but we hope that this is something super exciting. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with, like, if you go to an e-com website and it's like, you know, Kevin just bought this in Denver. We kind of hope it has that kind of feel to it, where it's like someone just started a business in, you know, Utah County. Like, we kind of hope that's the vibe that that gives off, and it shows some cool data that we haven't been able to show before. The next one is pitch competitions. I'd love to be able to facilitate and sponsor business idea competitions, right? This idea of just getting started. So no barriers to entry, prizes, support. And then the winners of those get the opportunity to present at the One Utah Summit, which is in the spring. And so again, super cool. Hopefully we can make that happen. And that's really where I need y'all's help, because I don't know who the right people are to facilitate those. And then the other one, oh, well, that's not supposed to be there. It's okay, fine. But we're really doing a big push on marketing this year. We're going to have a monthly newsletter that's going to go out. And then finally, my ask is for in these pillars. So who should be our partner? I really want to work with one person, and I know there's millions of people, tons of people that are doing things, but like, who are the one people that we should be leveraging in the remote areas that I'm not familiar with? So that's kind of where I need help there. What is preventing people from just getting started and to continuing to grow their business? So if you have any ideas on that, where are people getting stuck, especially in the rural areas? And then what resources are working, what aren't working the way that we would like them to work, and then what resources are missing, and how can I help facilitate that? So there you go.
Thank you so much, Tim. I can tell you right now, this group here is going to be your, they're going to be your contacts in the rural areas. And so you'll want to partner directly with our rural chambers of commerce. Sometimes a chamber will cover a city only, or a county, or a multi-city region. And as you evolving your position in this new position, you'll get to know all of these chamber leaders. And I was going to say, just for fun, just for Tim, how about everyone just jump in the chat really quick and introduce yourself and which office you're from or which chamber you're from, so he can read those comments and get that warm welcome from our Rural Chamber Coalition. And like I said, this is the group that makes things happen in rural Utah when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. And so, like I said, I'm really excited to, you know, to have you introduce you to this group. And I'll talk with you offline on hopefully having you come up to our Rural Utah Chamber Coalition summer conference that's the 1st of July, so you can meet everyone in person. So really excited about that. So thank you again, Tim, for giving us that nice introduction. And
Can I say just a second?
Oh, yes.
I'm going to put the RUCC email in there. And then if you'll send me kind of a couple paragraphs, just introducing yourself again, kind of your asks, we can get that in our newsletter next week.
Oh, perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
We've got, I just talked to Jen. She'll be jumping on here in a few minutes. So what we'll do is we'll jump to Casey Saxon for our government update.
All right. Thank you so much. I've got just a few updates for you from Congressman Owens. The first is that may be of interest. The first is he introduced legislation this week to rename the Sansequin Post Office in honor of Sergeant Bill Hooser, who was the officer that lost his life back in the beginning of May while on the job. And All of Utah's House members have co-sponsored that legislation, and I look forward to seeing that post office renamed ultimately. The big item of business in the House this week has been the National Defense Authorization Act, and something, a big priority for our office, that is, and I just got notice that the NDAA had passed. I don't know the status of this amendment, but Congressman Owens included or proposed an amendment for that to tack on the Mountain View Corridor Completion Act, which would help transfer federal land between Utah County and Salt Lake County to help Mountain View Corridor actually be completed through that area. That's a final step that needs to take place before construction can be completed over the next couple of years on Mountain View Corridor. So I don't know if that got included in the passage or not from the House. From here, it will go to the NDAA, will go to the Senate, and it's likely going to take probably months for the House and Senate to come to some agreement on the NDAA. A couple of other Utah-specific priorities that were included in the NDAA were $98 million authorization for 3 Hill Air Force Base facilities, and also an increase in access to childcare for 3,700 children of Utah's military families. Something that our office is working on right now is a bill related to immigration. It hasn't been proposed yet, but the concept is to make it is to prevent federal grants or any type of federal funding to go to non-governmental organizations who transport illegal immigrants from state to state or across state boundaries. We've seen this happen a lot as of late, where immigrants are being transported all over. And this would prevent non-governmental entities from receiving any type of federal funding in the future if they were complicit in transporting illegal immigrants. So we'll look forward to seeing what the final bill ends up looking like on that. You may have seen, if you follow Congressman Owens at all over the last few months, one of his major priorities has been calling out anti-Semitism on college campuses. And the House Subcommittee on Higher Education Workforce has held several committee hearings with university presidents that have seen very kind of left-wing anti-Israel demonstrations and universities that have put up with really reprehensible behavior. And so that's been a priority for his. A couple of 2 or 3 of the university presidents have resigned or been removed from office in disgrace because of how they've handled this issue. Holly may have mentioned this to this group in the past, but one of the congressman's priorities right now is he's campaigning to become the next chairman of the House Education and Workforce Committee. He currently serves on that committee. He serves as the chairman of the Subcommittee on Higher Education and Workforce. So basically what that entails is this year he's spending time with members of a steering committee in the House that will ultimately make that decision. If Republicans hold the House in the election this November, then I'd give Congressman Owens a pretty darn good shot of becoming chairman of the House Education and Workforce Committee in the upcoming Congress. And so that's been a priority for him, and you can expect to see more education related policy initiatives from him moving forward. And then one other item of note, you may have also seen in the news this week, the House voted, it was just by one vote, the House voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. It's largely symbolic to express the House's displeasure with the Department of Justice's refusal to provide materials to Congress related to President Biden. So that's an update on our end. If anybody has questions, I'm happy to take those, or anything you'd like me to take back or let the congressman know about, I'm happy to do that.
Hey, thank you. And I just sent you just a message, so you can also send me a couple paragraph recap, and we can get it in our newsletter for next week.
You bet.
Thanks, Casey.
And I guess Jen is driving, and she said she needs just a couple more minutes. was gonna say that gives us some time for folks to ask questions to Tim. And so tell us, we've got Jim on here, we've got Natalie, we've got Pat, Jeff, tell us some questions that you have for Tim and how GOEO and this new program that has been initiated by Governor Cox can be implemented in your community and help your local ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Also, even like, I was just thinking, I live in Parowan, so I'm involved in Parowan Chamber, but like if you had an 8x10 flyer, like we could add that to our chamber's emails. So not only the RUCC email, but our local chambers, because it is such a great resource, and then they would have something visual to see and hopefully get involved in that.
Cool.
Jim, Jeff, do you have any questions about the program or how you might be able to connect?
Well, Tim, you'll be happy to know that we've already included it as a resource on our website, the link. So it's just a matter of, learning more about what you're doing and who you're looking for, who we should be driving to that site to gain all these valuable resources.
Yeah, the way that I see it in the future is, right now, here's what happens. So Jim, you have a business, and then I'm like, oh, you should reach out to Trisha, right? Because that person, what she does. What a lot of time happens is you're like, I'm not entirely sure who all the resources are, but I know where to begin. So, what I'd like you to do is go to the startup thing, go to our chat bot real quick, and then it should bring up 3 to 5 resources about the issue that you're running into. If we can make that happen, right, that would be insane. And by that, if that's the ultimate goal is, I'm stuck here. Jim, you may or may not know that resource, or you might be like, you know what, that's great. I don't know the resources in, St. George or wherever. And so it's like, go to this website, it'll give you a place to go. Versus now it's like, oh, well, you've got to go to, the SBIR website because you're in biotech. And if, they're just such separated resources, and each department's focused on their own thing. So we're trying to give it that like funnel, top of the funnel, if you will.
So tell me, you said you want to put every event on that. What do you mean by that? There's a lot of events in this state, Tim.
Oh, I know. That's the goal. So what we're hoping is that we have, like, let's say we find those partners that we agree with 100% should be who we should be working with. And it should just be a feed, right? Like if we could do it the best way possible, you post an event, it just shows up on our website. So if someone's like, I'm looking for a business networking event in, Santa Quinn or wherever, then those next events pop up. So again, like I said, if we could be top of funnel and keep it fairly automated, that would be ideal.
My suggestion would be at minimum that all of our chambers forward their business summits or their economic summits to Tim to post on the website, those annual events, those major annual events that you host. And then also if it works with Tim's calendar, you could post your monthly networking events, your monthly chamber meetings, and get some good reach, because often there are a lot of state representatives or regional representatives that are looking for one calendar where they can find all the details on events that are happening that they can show up to. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to be like, Facebook, for example, Facebook events isn't great. It doesn't tell you what's happening today in a very clean way. And sometimes it's confusing of like, I don't really want to go to a concert. I want to go network with people. So if we could, eventually we'd love it because we can do a better job of filtering by county or even by city. And so I've gone to many events that I only heard about, 20 minutes before because someone told me about it. And then those have been like some of the best ones versus ones I do know about, may or not been the better ones. You know what I mean? So I'd love it all. If we could get it all and filter out later, that would be awesome.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, Tim, again, and I'll look forward to working with you. Again, this is your dream team right here. Really well organized, well connected people here in our rural chambers. So we'll go ahead and move on to Jen. Thank you so much, Jen, for being here to talk about the big chamber. We're really excited to hear about all the fun things that you've been doing. And maybe for some people who are new, tell us what the big chamber is and your coverage area.
For sure. So big chamber, big is not because of our size or our volume or the people that are in it, like myself. However, it stands for Beaver, Iron, and Garfield counties. And so the three of us counties got together and said, you know, in Beaver, we're really struggling with having a chamber of commerce. Garfield felt the same way. Lots of cities that are pretty far apart from each other. And so it's hard to do small little chambers, right? And so we thought, well, maybe we can pool our resources and use some of the strength and the wisdom from Cedar City. And so we leaned on Chris McCormick out there at the Cedar Chamber to kind of help guide us in Beaver and in Garfield County on how to really start a chamber, how to really develop this out. It started with a couple of governmental positions, city representatives, city council representatives. I work as a county strategic development director, so I oversee economic development and tourism. They put me on that board, and then the same in Garfield County. So they have a couple of seats that are governmental position seats. The hope is that we can get some things rolling and then substitute in business, which is where we find ourselves today. As a matter of fact, we're actually in conversations right now about switching over a third seat from a government held seat to a business owner taking that seat on our board. And so we've been able to move some of our membership into these leadership roles to do some things and move forward. I'm really proud of the growth in Beaver particularly. I will always happy to advocate for Garfield County as well, but at the same time, like my pride and joy is Beaver County. And so I'll talk about what I know from that standpoint, which is really we've seen a lot of growth at the hands of our chamber through conversations that have originated in my office and in city administrator's office. Anytime we have conversations with businesses that are looking to locate within our area, within our region, we really promote the idea of joining the Chamber of Commerce as a way of being a good community member, of good stewardship, of those kinds of things. And whether they want to be a member or whether they want to be a sponsor, whatever that looks like for them, certainly a good example of that would be Fervo, right? They're located over in the Milford Valley and they're building out their enhanced geothermal plant, but they are primarily based out of Texas, and the vast majority of the representation that would attend a chamber meeting is in Texas. And so it's hard for them to come to a monthly meeting in Beaver County. And so they went the sponsorship route, and that really unlocked a lot of doors for us to be able to do some things. Those sponsorships are critical to operational success for small chambers. But again, it came from that relationship that the company had out of the economic development director's office, right? I just point blank said, listen, if you want to be a good part of our community, being a good part of our community is joining our Chamber of Commerce, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's sponsorship or membership, happy to have you on either. And really charging them. So as we bring in those businesses, I would say for small chambers who are looking to kind of grow and move and shake, get really good relationships with your economic development director or your city administrator, whoever's overseeing economic development. Make sure that they understand that they can advocate as they meet with these businesses for them to join your chamber and to be involved in the community. We've taken it really seriously to listen to our membership. One of the first couple meetings that we held was a listening session. Like, what do you want this chamber to look like? You're the members, you tell us. Do you want this to be about service? Do you want this to be about networking? Do you want this to be about, how do you really want this to move forward in meaningful ways that's worth your time and your investment into the chamber? And so we listened to that feedback, and primarily our businesses were looking for help with training. They wanted to be able to see what the other area businesses were doing and implement some of those changes and those tactics, but they also wanted to be able to like learn some things to make themselves better. So we've hosted marketing classes, we've hosted Excel classes. What I thought was going to be the least interesting and ended up being the most interesting is we had a tax professional come in and give tips on filing your business taxes for the year. And really talked through potentials for our business owners, and they were able to ask questions. Another one that we really enjoy our partnership with is Meet the Money People, and that's put on primarily by the SBA group down in Cedar. But they come to us and they bring all the resources, and our business owners are able to come to that and talk to those people one-on-one and really get a good idea of how they can find more funding, how they can manipulate different programs that are out there to help their business really thrive. And so that's been very successful. The other thing I would say that has helped us on a county level has been being really flexible and agile about where we hold these meetings. We have a very wide service area in the county, and so being able to have a meeting in Minersville Town or have a meeting in Milford City it has been really helpful to bring that meeting closer to some of the existing businesses. And so within the big chamber, that's one of the things that we've seen. We've been really grateful to have opportunities to talk to like the Parowan Chamber and some of the other chambers that you guys are affiliated with to say, hey, listen, this is the pinch point that we're feeling. What solutions do you have? What success have you seen? And so really it has been having that extended network of folks who are doing what we are trying to do. And so just really grateful for this group and for the opportunities and for the leadership of this team to really keep us front of mind and allow us to engage with you all. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. We appreciate that. Yeah, the big chambers, just such a great thing when you do have smaller chambers. So we appreciate that so much. And I think, does anybody have any questions for Jen?
I would like to know what your big plans are for this year for the big chamber.
Oh man, our big plans are to continue to add business membership and hopefully get all of the governmental roles out of board seats. Truthfully, we've had a lot of growth on the Beaver side, and we have a lot of sponsorship coming in. We have a ton of businesses that are coming in and locating here in Beaver County. And so really the plan is just to try to keep our ducks together. Not let them wander off to the various ponds and then get stuck in the muck and the mire and feel left out and neglected. We are working towards a board retreat this year. It's something that we haven't done before, but we really feel like we want to bring our leadership team together a little bit more and really invest in how we can better help the local business people. So really a business-centric forward approach.
Sounds exciting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We don't have a linger longer today, so we just wanted to say thank you all for being here. We would love to see you all at the conference. Again, you just can go to ruralutahcc.org. There'll be tons of fun, some amazing information. But thank you, everybody, for spending an hour with us on this summer day. So we will see you next month, hopefully at our meeting and our conference. So thank you.
Adios, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Great to see everyone. Have a good day.